Welcome to 3DS Nutrition, the most enthusiastic channel on YouTube. I'm John Berry.
This is Ross Potter.
Here today we're going to talk really enthusiastically again about...
Training.
Is it training?
Training.
I think training.
Training.
Training plans? Training.
Training.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Boom! Welcome to 3DS Nutrition. I don't know, I feel like I'm too excitable now. Now I prefer, the first...
We'll just go back to monotone.
Yeah, monotone intro?
Monotone, we'll just go.
Okay, monotone. Guys, you're here today to see how to structure and design your own training plan. So hopefully over the last few weeks, you would have picked up some information from in the gym segments that we've done. And now we're going to teach you how to design your training plan moving forward from this point. What do you reckon, Ross? Does that sound good?
Sounds awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah, it sounds awesome. Again, we had a lot of questions about training, so we're just going to condense it. Quick little video, just give you a little run through about how to design it, how to keep it, most importantly, progressing in the right way.
Perfect. So we're going to go really, really quickly, really, really smooth, and we're going to make this as informative as possible in the shortest space of time. So we're going to start off with the length of your training cycles. So the best kind of length for some progression, to be able to make that progression reach its maximum and then come back down, is between 4 and 8 weeks, depending on what style sort of training. This talk's going to be gauged towards hypertrophy. So I would design a 4, 6 or 8 week mesocycle where you're just progressing all the way through that period of 8 weeks. So first we cover length, duration, a 4, a 6 or an 8 week training block.
And just for the guys, quickly just sum up what a mesocycle is for them.
So mesocycle is going to be the phase of which your training for progression is. So the complete block of the training phase. So your mesocycle, so basically the phase where you're in growth, 4 to 6 weeks, is your mesocycle. Then you're going to have a deload, then another mesocycle, then a deload, another mesocycle for the whole 12 months. So when we use the term mesocycle, we're just basically describing the short structure around that training period that has progression from volume and load. That's the easiest way to explain it to you.
Okay. So starting sets. Obviously this would be week 1. And generally we would start with just a nice 3 sets. Bearing in mind that's 3 working sets, not 3 warm-up sets. So you do your warm-up and then we would go in and we would make sure the 3 working sets. Would you say to fail? Are we at failure at this stage,
no,
or are we just
no.
building volume?
In that early stage, Ross is bang on the money there. You're just doing 3 working sets, probably about, like you've heard us mention in the gym, about 3 to 4 reps in reserve. So that's the easiest way to look at gauging the intensity for those first 3 sets.
So maybe if you were going to go with the traditional personal training RPE, rate of perceived exertion scale, maybe a 6, 7, 8 out of 10.
Perfect.
So we'd be at 7. Potentially 70% of 100 rep max.
That's it. So that would be your starting set. So for chest, it would have 3 working sets in 1 or 2 exercises. So Ross might go in and pick bench and flies, 1 or 2 warm-ups, 3 working sets, 1 or 2 warm-ups, 3 working sets. And that is it initially for that chest phase 1 for that week.
Yeah.
So really, really low volume.
Now you guys obviously might be thinking, well, I can't go in and do international chest Mondays and just do 2 exercises for chest. However, bear in mind that as the mesocycle progresses, that volume will increase to a point where you'll be actually at failure. So there will be
multiple sets.
Yeah, so many sets, so much volume that actually come the end of the 4, 6, 8 week cycle, the last point, you'll be ready for the deload.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that's the most important thing here. Training at such intensity that you're ready for a deload at the end of the period.
So we're making this really easy before we carry on, and the frequency we're talking about is 1 muscle group once a week. So we're talking about really, really low frequency. As you get up into 20, 25 sets per muscle group, you might want to divide the frequency between sort of like 10 sets for chest one day and then 15 sets later in the week. But at the moment we're talking, just so no one gets confused, the frequency is down to 1 muscle group once a week, okay?
Traditional bodybuilding split, chest Monday, back Tuesday, etc., for the week. 2 rest days generally at the weekend, or if you're training on the weekend, fine, allow yourself 2 rest days. And then as you progress into week 2, obviously things change a little bit.
Yeah.
Week 3, week 4. So.
Perfect. Okay. Progression using volume and load. So you can also use frequency as a progression, but we're not going to touch on that today. But volume and load. So basically all that means, really, really simple. Volume just means the amount of sets done in that period of the week. So each week we would probably add 1 set to chest. So it's gone from probably 1 or 2 sets. We've gone from 3 sets on his flies and his 3 sets on his bench to 4 and 4. And then week 3, 5 and 5. Week 4, and you can see how the volume would build up. You might then want to add in another exercise to take some of those, carry those sets over. Or you might, by the time, like we said, once you get into the higher set protocol, split it up and do chest twice.
Yeah, you'd normally notice that. I think it was week 2 or 3 when we went to Martin Ford's gym.
That's it.
We trained back, and then you saw us doing some dips on the machine for volume chest. And John made a point there and then to say that this was for volume on the chest. Despite the fact we were training back, we just added some sets in. So that's the kind of thing that we're going to get you guys to kind of follow it and do yourself.
That's it, perfect. So it was a great way to just add in more chest volume. So you can also use load. So 1 week you might, let's say you're at week 6 and you're doing an 8-week structure. You're at week 6 and you've got 6 sets here, 6 sets here, 5 sets here, and you think, God, I can't be in the gym any longer than an hour and a half. You can
Me,
even earlier. That's Ross.
That's me.
You can
After
increase.
an hour, I'm done.
You can increase load, so you can use load or volume. So you've got the choice. Obviously, volume is closer signal to hypertrophy, so the more volume, the better. But obviously, you do want to be progressing in load as well. So small increments, basically load. I'm just talking about the weight on the bar. That's all I'm trying to imply here. So utilize one of those 2, or even if you feel like you're good enough, you can make a progression on both.
Yeah, big point there to bear in mind is to not burn out too quickly. I've been guilty of it in the past. 1-2 weeks in, everything's kicked off, everything's starting really well, and you find yourself adding 3-4 sets plus load, and by the end of week 4, you absolutely shot to bits. So just bear in mind that this is a 4, 6, 8 week progression, and it's a journey.
Absolutely.
Burning out at the end in the last week. You shouldn't be burning out by week 2, 3. And ego lifting.
Because that means you've either started with far too much volume,
Yep.
or you're trying to use loads that you can't carry over. The one big tip as a coach, I'd say, is if you start off with 100 kilos on a bench and Ross is doing 3 sets of 6, that means that now he has locked in 6 reps for that whole mesocycle. He doesn't change his reps because it's quite hard to dictate performance, and again, volume will decrease if you went heavier and ended less reps. So stick to a rep protocol, choose it. We're not going to cover reps in this today, but you choose whether you're doing 6 to 8, 8 to 10, whatever you fancy, and then they're locked in on those movements moving forward.
You cannot go down.
No.
Once you progress up, whether it be volume or load, you cannot go back down. So you can't do 5 sets and then 6 sets and then increase the weight and go back down to 3.
Absolutely.
You have to stay on 5, 6, 7. You have to progress in a forward. If Bill was here, she'd probably say linear, non-linear training motion.
Who the hell's Bill?
Bill. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we've pretty much also now covered how to plan volume and load and the phases. So we've just explained that to you. Now we want to look at your maximum recoverable volume. Okay, so there's a guy called Mike Israetel that has kind of worked out that on average we all have a max recoverable volume for the muscle groups in a 7-day period. And we also have what's called a systemic maximum recoverable volume. So the total amount of sets the whole body can take in a period of time. But most of the studies show on average about 25 sets for the natural athletes being the absolute maximum. Some people that you do use performance enhancing supplements will be able to handle more volume. That's quite obvious. So if you think about 25 sets, if we just throw the question to Ross, and you've got chest, how would you put 25 sets of chest into a week's training plan?
25 sets of chest. Again, it would vary from person to person. You wouldn't be doing 25 sets on one day. For me, I would most probably split it up over 2 chest days and then use maybe a Saturday or a Sunday as the additional day to just plop in any extra volume I needed to. So maybe I would do a chest day with 10, another chest day maybe 3 or 4 days later with 10, and then I would just use the last 5 sets,
Perfect.
tag it on to the back of something else. So if my 2 weakest areas were maybe biceps and hamstrings, for example, then on my rest day or my quieter day, that would be the main focus, and I would just bump up all the sets over that day to make sure, obviously, in my 7-day rotation, everything's been hit and the 25 sets box ticked.
Perfect. Okay, so grouping muscles, really, really simple one. Ross did say already in the video, really, really standard. We're covering a standard bodybuilding traditional split, which is like chest, back, shoulders, legs, arms, something like that. Well, you might want to change the frequency and the order, but let's say you were doing that. As the weeks progress, like Ross said, chest is here on Monday, on this day here. You might want to then put the second chest in here, okay? Or put it with arms, put it with a smaller muscle group, or start changing the structure. As long as the same volume is met or increased, you're absolutely fine where you basically put the muscles. There's no special pattern to how biceps should be, chest should be, where should be legs. But you know, you will need some rest days thrown in. I'd suggest that if legs is your weakest point, that's basically day one after your rest period, and then go from there forwards. But grouping the muscles, you could do chest and biceps, you could do back and triceps, you can group it any way you want. So that's your freedom, you get to structure that.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing with some of my clients. They will say, well, can I train this again tomorrow? Now, there should be no need for you to train the next day, and in generally in the bodybuilding world, it's kind of frowned upon generally because obviously your muscles need a little bit of time to recover before we go in and smash them again. So there's no point doing 10 sets of chest on a Monday and trying to redo 10 sets of chest on a Tuesday, because you're not going to take the most benefit out of the workout. So make sure you again leave a little gap, and that again depends on whether you're an enhanced athlete or you're completely natural, because obviously the recovery times are very different. So just bear that in mind, obviously, if you're putting your program together.
Cool. And before we hit deload, the last thing I will suggest is there's two big camps out at the moment. There's your traditional camp, which is your bodybuilders that you follow, like your Phil Heaths and your Ronnie Coleman's and all these kind of guys that do their, you know, they have a chest day, they have a back day, they have a leg day. And then there's the camp that have a massive higher frequency all the way up to, you know, upper body, then lower body, then upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body for 6 days in a row. Due to that's the higher frequency crowd. I believe there's benefit to both sides, but I really think it's what fits you. Me personally, I like a little bit in the middle. I like hitting things a few times a week, but most of my training has always been the traditional style, and I have noticed some difference up in frequency.
Yeah.
But after a while, when I get to too many sets and too high frequency, I'm like, chest again?
Yeah.
I've only just done chest 2 days ago. And you don't want to lose the love and the passion. So the reason we're covering a traditional split is because I feel like 5 days on, 2 days off, or we might want to go 3 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on. It's just the easiest to get your head into, you know, and your mindset.
And again, it depends on person to person, because again, take into account a day job. If you're working 6 a.m. till 6 p.m, there's going to be little chance for you to get everything done. So maybe the weekends are your big training days. So again, it has to fit around your lifestyle to make it as effective for you. Now, me personally, I would train Monday to Friday. If I need the additional day, Saturday, but for me, Sunday is the holy day, the day of rest for me. But John will go and smash his heaviest leg session on a Sunday. So it varies from athlete to athlete, and that's something you've got to bear in mind, is how can your plan fit around your lifestyle but still give you kind of a little bit of downtime, because you can't be training 7 days a week, because you will just burn out in the first few weeks. You'll never make the end.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Last area that we're going to cover is obviously the deload. So after your 4, 6 or 8 weeks, depending on what you deload.
Do we need to deload?
I don't even like the phrase deload. Deload that truck, because you've just loaded it.
Deload, yeah.
Right, so after you've done your segment and how long you've basically run your training plan from, we have a 1 to 2 weeks deload where the volume goes back down to starting volume, which we've already explained to you is about 3 sets. So you might be accrued to 25 sets, and you bring everything down to, say, chest will come right back down to 6 or 7 sets total. Back will come down to 6 or 7 sets. I would suggest, through my personal coaching experience, still keep the load there. Don't go down to like 6 sets with a 5 out of 10 RPE or like 7 or 8 reps in reserve. Still cause a little bit of trauma, a little bit of stimulus, but the workouts would be like 35 minutes long when they were like an hour and 15.
Yeah, and again,
recover.
Comes back to episode 1, which you guys saw at Foundation Fitness. We took Pump and Fury, which to this day we've never ever been able to get the same pump.
That crazy pump.
That was on my deload week after the British finals, after a holiday. The intensity was still there, but if you were to refer back to that video, we were using weights nice,
light.
very light, but the intensity was still there. We didn't lose that aggression and that passion. 30, 40 minutes, wrapped it up, job done, and that stayed the same for the entire week.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people out there who kind of, the bros, the real bros out there, who don't believe in a deload or they don't take into account that actually we do need a little bit of rest. Now, it's not obviously rest completely taking 7 days off, but you have to give your central nervous system, your CNS, which is a massive, massive talking point, but for a lot of the inexperienced guys out there, know nothing about it. But that's that internal system, which every time you try and get smashed to pieces, and after 4, 6, 8 weeks of continual pounding, you have to, whether you like it or not, take a step back. Absolutely. Otherwise, there is no way you'll progress, because all you do, immune system shot to bits, CNS, central nervous system, shot to pieces, only one outcome.
Perfect. So, really way to wrap this up. If you're training, you're at week 6, you're week 7, you're week 8, you don't actually know when to stop.
Yeah.
If you can't get a pump anymore, and if you get a pump and you can't maintain it in the gym, Viagra works really well.
I've never tried it, but...
No?
No.
What was it you gave me the other day?
Oh, shit.
That was outside of the gym.
Yeah.
The wife really appreciated it. So all I was going to say is you've really blown my train of thought. I don't even know what I was talking about.
Talking about if you can't get a pump, you don't know where you are on your plan, whether you're 6, 8 weeks in.
That's it.
And then John will carry on if you can remember.
So if you can't get your pump, you're noticing that you're getting a pump and it's literally diminishing really fast. You've got no enthusiasm, you're tired a lot more, you're lethargic, your appetite starts to drop. You're at the point we need to deload.
I'd say the biggest telltale sign is you're walking into the gym and you don't want to be there. You just take your pre-workout, it doesn't do anything. You look around, you think, oh man, I could be doing something so much better. That's the time when you need to go, right, I need my little deload, come back with a fresh new scent.
Perfect. So right, we'll sum up really quickly. Length 4, 6 or 8 weeks. Starting sets, where it says 3 sets there, remember that's just one exercise, so we're going to make that really easy. So
Week 1.
Start with 6 total sets for chest, 6 total sets for back. Spread that across the board, maybe 7 for legs, but we're talking about 3 exercises for one exercise, 3 sets for one exercise. So start at something like 6 or 7 across the board for all the muscle groups week 1. Progress from there with either volume or load.
Yeah.
And then plan your phases, whether you're going to increase load. You'll know, I don't plan ahead for volume and load. Ross will go in and text me saying, do you know what, I went up today, but I kept sets the same. And I'll say, brilliant, now keep that weight and up the sets next week.
Just make sure you log it. Because
everything.
Sometimes you get a little bit carried away. So either take a book, log it on your phone, but don't get carried away on social media.
Okay, perfect. And when you get to your maximum recoverable volume, which we're saying at the moment, for most of you out there, is going to be between 20 and 25 sets. I've worked with people where it's 18. I've worked with people where it's 30. And depending on the type of person you are, you can handle a lot more volume and you don't mind being in there for 2 hours long. But I would say once you get to that mid-20s, again, you're probably at the end of your training structure. You need to kind of deload. Grouping the muscles, we've explained it to you. You can have that exactly how you want it. You might want to put a big muscle and a small muscle, because otherwise if you go into just do chest and it's only 6 or 7 sets, you'll probably be in there 20 minutes if you've warmed up, and it might feel like you've done nothing. I hate deloading.
It's not enough time to get a pick for the gram.
It's not.
It's not enough time.
I'm in my deload at the moment. I'm going to do about 10 days. And I'm like going in, lifting a little bit heavy and leaving straight away. And I don't like it. I can't wait to start a new cycle. But go from there. And then, that's pretty much how to design your training plan. So in the segment below, we're going to list in a little bullet points exactly what you need to do. But if you need any more information regarding how to design this or how to structure, or you maybe even want a training plan, contact either myself or Ross. What are our Instagram tags?
John Berry Coach and Ross Potter PT.
Perfect.
Just give us a little shout, give us a message, and we'll get in touch.
See you soon.